I am Miss Carmina. This is my Korean instant coffee, and this is Miss Carmina Reads Live. We're reading It's Trevor Noah, Born a Crime, Stories from a South African Childhood, adapted for young readers. Now, if you're watching on the live or on the replay, please remember to take a moment to give me a like or a thumbs up. I really appreciate it, and it helps my channel grow. If you like what you're seeing, Aloud, if you want to see me again, subscribe. I'd love to have you. All of you all are my readers and scholars. Doesn't matter who you are or where in the world you are or in the country. I am in California, and I go live during my lunch break at work from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. You can do the math of, depending on where you are, what time that is for you. If you can come join, I would love it. But if you can watch on the replay only, that's fine too. All right, so I'm gonna do a little review. Trevor Noah. In this book, he's a young man living in South Africa. In this chapter, apartheid has just fallen recently, right? So, um, chapter 15. It's called The Cheese Boys. My friend Bongani was a short, bald, super buff guy. He wasn't always that way. His whole life he'd been skinny, and then a bodybuilding magazine found its way into his hands and changed his life. Bongani was one of those people who brought out the best in everybody. He was that friend who believed in you and saw the potential in you that nobody else did, which was why so many of the township kids gravitated towards him, and why I gravitated towards him as well. Bongani was always popular, but his reputation really took off when he beat up one of the more infamous bullies in the school. That cemented his status as sort of the leader and protector of the township kids. Bongani lived in Alexandria, but I never visited him there while we were still in school. He'd always come to my house in Highlands North. I'd been to Alex a few times for brief visits, but I'd never spent any real time there. I'd never been there at night. Let's put it that way. Going to Alex during the day is different from going there at night. The place was nicknamed Gomorrah for a reason. One day after school, not long before we matriculated, Bongani, which means graduated, I believe, Bongani walked up to me on the quad. Hey, let's go to the hood, he said. The hood? At first, I had no idea what he was talking about. I knew the word hood from rap songs, and I knew the different townships where black people lived, but I had never used the one to describe the other. The walls of apartheid were coming down just as American hip hop was blowing up, and hip hop made it cool to be from the hood. Before, living in a township was something to be ashamed of. It was the bottom of the bottom. Then, when we had movies like Boys in the Hood and Menace to Society, and they made the hood look cool. The characters in those movies and the songs, they owned it. Kids in the township started doing the same, wearing their identity as a badge of honor. You were no longer from the township, you were from the hood. Being from Alex gave you way more street cred than living in Highlands North. So when Bongani said, let's go to the hood, I was curious about what he meant. When Bongani took me to Alex, we entered, as most people do, from the Sandton side. You ride through one of the richest neighborhoods in Johannesburg, past palatial mansions and huge money. Then you go through the industrial belt of Wynberg. that cordons off the rich and white from the poor and the black. At the entrance to Alex, there's there's the huge minibus rank and the bus station. It's the same bustling, chaotic third world marketplace you see in James Bond and Jason Bourne movies. Everything's dynamic. Everything's in motion. Nothing feels like it was there yesterday, and nothing feels like it will be there tomorrow. But every day, it looks exactly the same. That's not nice. I I do not suck. I am a very nice person, and I'm reading for all of us. Okay, Ezra, let's try to be nice in the future and stick around and listen to the story. You're gonna like it, I promise. Um, Nothing feels like it was there yesterday and nothing feels like it will be there tomorrow. But every day it looks exactly the same. I forgive you. Um, right next to the minibus rank, of course, is a KFC. That's one thing about South Africa. There's always a KFC. KFC found the black people. KFC did not play games. They were in the hood before McDonald's, before Burger King, before anyone. Hi, Jack Baba. Mm, before anyone. KFC was like, yo, we're here for you. Once you got past the minibus rank, you're in Alex proper. It's a hive of human activity all day long. People coming and going, gangsters hustling, guys on the corner doing nothing, kids running around. There's nowhere for all the energy to go, no mechanism for it to dissipate. So it erupts periodically in epic acts of violence and crazy parties. One minute, it'll be a placid afternoon, people hanging out, doing their thing, and next thing you know, there's a cop car chasing gangsters flying through the streets, a gun battle going off, helicopters circling overhead. Then, 10 minutes later, it's like it never happened. Alex is laid out on a grid, a series of avenues. The streets are paved, but the sidewalks are mostly dirt. The color scheme is cinder block and corrugated iron, gray and dark gray, punctuated by bright splashes of color. Someone's painted a wall lime green, or there's a bright red sign above a takeaway shop. Or maybe somebody's picked up a bright blue piece of sheet metal just by luck. There is little in the way of basic sanitation. Trash is everywhere. Typically, a garbage fire going down some side street. There's always something burning in the hood. As you walk, there's every smell you can imagine. People are cooking, eating takeaway in the streets. Some family has a shack that's jerry built onto the back of someone else's shack and they don't have any running water. So they've bathed in a bucket from the outdoor tap and then dumped the dirty water in the street where it runs into the river of sewerage that's already there because the water system has backed up again. There's a guy fixing cars who thinks he knows what he's doing, but he doesn't. He's dumping old motor oil into the street, and now the oil is combining with the dirty bath water to make a river of filth running down the street. There's probably a goat hanging around. There's always a goat. There's always a goat. As you're walking, sound washes over you. The steady thrum of human activity. People talking in a dozen different languages, chatting, haggling, arguing. There's music playing constantly. You've got traditional South African music coming from one corner, someone blasting Dolly Parton from the next corner, and someone driving past pumping Notorious B.I.G. Hi, Sherlock. The hood was a complete sensory overload for me. You know, I went to a Walmart superstore yesterday It was a sensory overload for me right there. I had to leave before I found everything that I needed for my home because it was too much. It was full of people. I was spending more time like driving amongst all the people than actually finding what I was looking for. That's why I left. Poof, reminds me of what Trevor's describing here about Alex. Alex is Alexandria, a township or a place where Black people lived in South Africa or live. Thank you, Ezra. That's very sweet. Um, The hood was a complete sensory overload for me. But within the chaos, there was order, a system, a social hierarchy based on where you lived. Fifth Avenue was not cool at all because it was right next to the commotion of the minibus rank. Second Avenue was nice because it had semi houses that were built when there was still some sort of formal settlement going on. Third, Fourth, and Fifth Avenues were nicer for the township. These were the established families, the old money. From Sixth Avenue on down, it was more shacks and shanties. There were some schools, a few soccer fields, there were a couple of hostels, giant projects built by government for housing migrant workers. You never wanted to go there. That's where the serious gangsters were. After 20th Avenue, you hit the Juxkay River. And on the far side of that, across the Roosevelt Street Bridge, was East Bank, the newest, nicest part of the hood. East Bank was where the government had gone in, cleared out the squatters and their shacks, and started to build actual homes. It was still low income housing, but decent two-bedroom houses with tiny yards. The families who lived there had a bit of money and usually sent their kids out of the hood to better schools, like Sandringham. Bongani's parents lived in East Bank, and at the corner of Roosevelt Springbok Crescent. And after walking from the minibus rank through the hood, we wound up there, hanging around outside his house on the low brick wall down the middle of Springbok Crescent, doing nothing, shooting the breeze. I didn't know it then, but I was about to spend the next 3 years of my life hanging out at that very spot. Hi, Rid Starbray. Ezra, you are so silly. Um, in that very spot. I graduated from high school when I was 17, and by that point, life at home had become toxic because of my stepfather. I didn't want to be there anymore, and my mom agreed that I should move out. She helped me move to a cheap, roach-infested flat in a building down the road. My plan, insofar as I had one, mm, my plan, insofar as I had one, was to go to university to be a computer programmer, but we couldn't afford the tuition. I needed to make money. The only way I knew how to make money was selling pirated CDs. And one of the best places to sell pirated CDs was in the hood, because that's where the minibus rank was. Minibus drivers were always looking for new songs because having good music was something that used to attract customers. They used to attract customers. Hi, T.S. Chum. I don't know how else to pronounce your name, sorry. Um, they used to attract customers. Another nice thing about the hood is that it's super cheap. You can get by on next to nothing. You can get a meal called a kota. It's a quarter loaf of bread. You scrape out the bread, then you fill it with fried potatoes, a slice of bologna, and some pickled mango relish called achar. That costs a couple of rand. If you have a bit more money, you can throw in a hot dog. If you have still a bit more, you can throw in a proper sausage, like a bratwurst. Or maybe a fried egg. The biggest quota with all the upgrades is enough to feed 3 people. Thank you for the thumbs up, everybody, and thanks for watching. Um, for us, the ultimate upgrade was to throw a slice of cheese. Cheese was always the thing because it was so expensive. Cheese on anything was money. If you got a burger, that was cool. But if you got a cheeseburger, that meant you had more money than a guy who just got a hamburger. Cheese on a sandwich, cheese in your fridge, that meant you were living the good life. In any township in South Africa, if you had a bit of money, people would say, "Ooh, you're a cheese boy." In essence, you're not really hood because your family has enough money to buy cheese. In Alex, because Bongani and his crew lived in East Bank, they were considered cheese boys. Ironically, because they lived on the first street just over the river, they were looked down on as scruff of East Bank, and the kids in the nicer houses higher up in East Bank were the cheesier cheese boys. Hi, Alicia. Bongani and his crew would never admit to being cheese boys. They would insist, "We're not cheese, we're hood." But then the real hood guys would say, "Hey, you're not hood, you're cheese." "We're not cheese," Bongani's guys would say, pointing further up the East Bank. "They're cheese." It was all a bunch of ridiculous posturing about who was hood and who was cheese. Bongani was the leader of his crew, the guy who got everyone together and got things moving. Then there was Mzi, Bongani's henchman. Small guy, just wanted to tag along, be in the mix. Becky was the drinks man, always finding us booze and always coming up with an excuse to drink. Then there was Kakwatse. Kakwatse. We called him G, Mr. Nice Guy. All G was interested in was women. If women were in the mix, he was in the game. Then, finally, there was Hitler, the life of the party. Hitler just wanted to dance. Cheese boys were in a uniquely messed up situation when apartheid ended. It is one thing to be born in the hood and to know that you will never leave the hood, but the cheese boys um, but the cheese boy has been shown the world outside. His family has done okay. They have a house. They've they've sent him to a decent school. Maybe he's even matriculated. He has been given more potential, but he has not been given more opportunity. He has been given an awareness of the world that is out there, but he has not been given the means to reach it. The unemployment rate, technically speaking, was lower in South Africa during apartheid, which makes sense. There was slavery. That's how everyone was employed. When democracy came, everyone had to be paid. Everyone had to be paid a minimum wage. The cost of labor went up, and suddenly, millions of people were out of work. The unemployment rate for young black men post apartheid shot up, sometimes as high as 50%. What happens to a lot of guys in their if what happens to a lot of guys is they finish high school and they can't afford university. And even little retail jobs can be hard to come by when you're from the hood and you look and talk a certain way. So, for many young men in South Africa's townships, freedom looks like this. Every morning they wake up, maybe their parents go to work or maybe not. Then they go outside and chill on the corner the whole day. They're free. They've been taught how to fish, but no one will give them a fishing rod. Hey, sweet summer lamb. My favorite color is white. What's your favorite color? What's you all's favorite color? One of the first things I learned in the hood is that there is a very fine line between civilian and criminal. We like to believe we live in a world of good guys and bad guys. And in the suburbs, it's easy to believe that because getting to know a career criminal in the suburbs is a difficult thing. But then you go to the hood and you see there are so many shades in between. In the hood, even if you're not a hardcore criminal, crime is in your life in some way or another. There are 3 degrees of it. It's everyone from the mom buying some food that fell off the back of a truck to feed her family, all the way up to the gang selling military-grade weapons and hardware. The hood made me realize that crime succeeds because crime does the one thing the government doesn't do. Crime cares. Crime is grassroots. Crime looks for the young kids who need support and a lifting hand. Crime offers internship programs and summer jobs and opportunities for advancement. Crime gets involved in the community. Crime doesn't discriminate. Hello, Pepito Malo. Um, my life of crime started off small. Excuse me. My life of crime started out small, selling pirated CDs on the corner. That in itself was a crime, and today I feel like I owe all those artists money for selling their music. But by hood standards, it didn't qualify as illegal. At the time, it never occurred to any of us that we were doing anything wrong. If copying CDs is wrong, why would they make CD writers? Hi, the official MSG. Hi, Lord of Flies. No, honey pie, I don't support any type of criminality. I'm reading a book. So stick around and listen. Um, the garage of Bongani's house opened up onto Springbok Crescent. Every morning we'd open the doors, run an extension cord out into the street, set up a table, and play music. People would walk by and ask, "What is that? Can I get one, please?" Our corner was also where a lot of minibus drivers ended their routes and turned around to loop back to the minibus rank. They'd swing by, place an order, come back, pick it up. Swing by, place an order, come back, pick it up. We spent our whole day running out to them, going back to the garage to make more mixes and going back out to sell. There was a converted shipping container around the corner where we'd hang out when we got tired of the wall. It had a payphone installed inside that we'd use to call people. When things were slow, we'd wander back and forth between the container and the wall, talking and hanging out with the other people with nothing to do in the middle of the day. We'd talk to drug dealers, talk to gangsters. Every now and then the cops would come crashing through. A day in the life of the hood. Next day, same thing. Selling slowly evolved into hustling because Bongani saw all the angels and he knew all the angles, excuse me. Bongani saw all the angles and knew how to exploit them. Like Tom, Bongani was a hustler. But where Tom was only about the short con, Bongani had schemes. If we do this, we get that, then we can flip that for the other thing, which gives us the leverage we need to get something bigger. Some minibus drivers couldn't pay up front, for example. "I don't have the money because I've just started my shift," they'd say. "But I need new music. Can I owe you guys some form of credit? I'll owe you a ride. I'll pay you at the end of my shift at the end of the week." So we started letting drivers buy on credit, charging them a bit of interest. We started making more money, never more than a few hundred, maybe 1,000 rand at a time, but it was all cash on hand. Bongani was quick to realize the position we were in. Cash is the one thing everyone in the hood needs. Everyone's looking for a short-term loan for something, to pay a bill or pay a fine or just hold things together. People started coming to us asking for money. Bongani would cut a deal, and then he'd come to me. "Yo, we're going to make a deal with this guy. We're going to loan him 100 and he's going to give us back 120 at the end of the week." I'd say, "Okay." We started to double our money, then triple our money. Cash gave us leverage in the hood's barter economy as well. It's common knowledge that if you're standing at a corner of Main Street in the hood, somebody's going to try to sell you something. That's the hood. Someone's always buying, someone's always selling. And the hustle is about trying to be in the middle of the whole thing. None of it was illegal. Nobody knew where anything came from. And you don't ask. It's just, hey, look what I found. And cool, how much do you want? And that's international code. That's the international code. At first, I didn't know not to ask. I remember one time we bought a car stereo or something like that. But who did this belong to? I said. Don't worry about it, one of the guys told me. White people have insurance. Insurance? Yeah, when white people lose stuff, they have insurance policies that pay them cash for what they've lost. So it's like they've lost nothing. Oh, okay, I said. Sounds nice. And that was as far as we ever thought about it. When white people lose stuff, they get money. Just another nice perk of being white. It's easy to be judgmental about crime when you live in a world wealthy enough to be removed from it. But the hood taught me that everyone has different notions of right and wrong, different definitions of what constitutes crime, and what level of crime they're willing to participate in. My own mother, my super religious, law abiding mother, who used to rant to me about breaking the rules and learning to behave, came home one day with a giant box of frozen burger patties, like 200 of them, from a takeaway place called Black Steer. A burger at Black Steer costs at least 20 rand. What is all this? I said. Oh, some guy at work was selling them, she said. I got a great discount. Hello, Axel. Look, I'm not giving out my phone number, but I live in California. I go live from 12 to 1 my time. So join me whenever you can. Or watch on the replay. Remember to give me a thumbs up. It helps my channel grow and it helps me continue doing this. But where did he get them from? I don't know. He said he knew somebody who, Mom, he stole them. We don't know that. We do know that. Where is some guy going to get all these burger patties from randomly? Of course, we ate the burgers. Then we thanked God for the meal. Every day in the hood was the same. I'd wake up early, Bongani would meet me at my flat, and we'd catch a minibus to Alex with my computer, carrying the giant tower and the giant heavy monitor the whole way. We'd set it up in Bongani's garage and start the first batch of CDs. Then we'd walk. We'd go down to the corner of 19th and Roosevelt for breakfast. Then, oh, excuse me, when you're trying to stretch your money, food is where you have to be careful. You have to plan or you'll eat all your profits. If every morning for breakfast we ate vetkok, which is fried dough basically, those were cheap, like 50 cents a pop. We could buy a bunch of those and have enough energy to sustain us until later in the day. Then we'd hit on the corner and eat. We'd sit on the corner and eat. While we ate, we'd be picking up orders from minibus drivers and as they went past. After that, we'd go back to Bongani's garage, listen to music, lift weights, make the CDs. Around 10 or 11, the drivers would start coming back from their morning routes. We'd take the CDs and head out to the corner for them to pick up their stuff. Then we'd just be on the corner hanging out, meeting characters, seeing who came by, seeing where the day was going to take us. A guy needs this. A guy's selling that. You never knew what it was going to be. There was always a big rush of business at lunch. We'd be all over Alexandra, hitting different shops and corners, making deals with everyone. We'd hop onto minibuses and use it as an opportunity to talk to the drivers about what music they needed. but secretly we were riding with the guy for free. Hey, excuse me. Hey, we want to collect orders. We'll talk to you while you drive. What do you need? What music are you looking for? Do you need a new Maxwell? Okay, we got the new Maxwell. Okay, we'll talk to you later. We'll jump out here. Then we'd we'd hop on another ride going wherever we were going next. After lunch, business would die down, and that's when we'd get our lunch. Usually the cheapest thing we could afford, like like a smiley with some maize meal. A smiley is a goat's head. They're boiled and covered with chili pepper. We call them smileys because when you're done eating all the meat off, the goat looks like it's smiling at you from the plate. And the cheeks and the tongue are quite delicious, but the eyes are disgusting. They pop in your mouth. Ugh. You put the eyeball in your mouth and you bite it, and it's just a ball of pus that pops. It has no crunch. It has no chew. It has no flavor that is appetizing in any way. Hi, cool girl. After lunch, we'd head back to the garage, relax, sleep off the meal, and make more CDs. In the afternoons, we'd see a lot of moms. Moms loved us. They were some of our best customers. Since mom run the household, they're the ones looking to buy that box of soap that fell off the back of the truck, and they were more likely to buy it from us because we were upstanding, well-spoken East Bank boys. We could even charge a premium because we added that layer of respectability to the transaction. Moms are also often the most in need of short-term loans to pay off this or that for the family. Again, they'd rather deal with us than with some gangster loan shark. Moms knew we weren't going to break anyone's legs if they couldn't pay. We didn't believe in that. Also, we weren't capable of it. Let's not forget that part. At the peak of our operation, oh my God, it's almost my time to go. It's a long chapter. I might not finish it, y'all. At the peak of our operation, we probably had around 10,000 rands in capital. We had loans going out and interest coming in. We had our stockpile of Jordans and DVD players we'd bought to resell. We also had to buy blank CDs, hire minibuses, and go to our DJ gigs, feed five guys 3 times a day. We kept track of everything on the computer. Having lived in my mom's world, I knew how to do spreadsheets. We had a Microsoft Excel Word we had a Microsoft Excel document laid out, everybody's name, how much they owed, when they paid, when they didn't pay. Once the after work rush started to taper off, we'd wind down. We'd take our last collections, go over our CD stock, balance our accounts. If there was a party to DJ that night, we'd start getting ready for that. Otherwise, we'd buy a few beers and sit around and drink. Talk about the day, listen to the gunshots in the distance. Gunshots went off every night, and we'd always try to guess what kind of gun it was. Usually, there'd be a police chase, cop cars flying through after some guy in a stolen car. Then everyone would go home for dinner with their families. I take my computer, get back on a minibus, ride home, sleep, and then come back and do it all again the next day. A year passed, then two. I had stopped planning for school and was no closer to having um, the money to enroll. The tricky thing about the hood is that you're always working, 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 and you feel like something's happening, but really nothing's happening at all. I was out there every day from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and every day it was, how do we turn 10 rand into 20? How do we turn 20 into 50? How do we turn 50 into 100? There were many days we'd end up back at zero, but I always felt like it'd been very productive. Hustling is to work what surfing the internet is to reading. If you add up how much you read in 1 year on the internet, tweets, Facebook posts, list, you've read the equivalent of a ton of books, but in fact, you've read no books in a year. When you look back on it, that's what hustling was. It's maximal effort put into minimal gain. It's a hamster wheel. If I put all that energy into studying, I'd have earned my MBA. Instead, I was majoring in hustling, something no university would give me a degree for. When I first went into Alex, I was drawn by the electricity and the excitement of it. But more important, I was accepted there, more than I had been in high school or anywhere else. When I first showed up, a couple of people raised an eyebrow. Who's this colored kid? But the hood doesn't judge. If you want to be there, the hood doesn't judge if you want to be there. What? Oh, yeah, excuse me. The hood doesn't judge. If you want to be there, you can be there. Because I didn't live in the hood, I was technically an outsider. But for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like one. Oh, I only have 9 more minutes, you guys. The hood is also a low stress, comfortable life. All your mental energy goes into getting by. So you don't have to ask yourself any of the big questions. Who am I? What am I supposed to be? Am I doing enough? You never feel like a failure in the hood because someone's always worse off than you. And you don't feel like you need to do more because the biggest success isn't that much higher than you either. It allows you to exist in a state of suspended animation. The hood was strangely comforting, but comfort can be dangerous. Comfort provides a floor, but also a ceiling. In our crew, our friend G was like the rest of us, unemployed, hanging out. Then he got a job at a nice clothing store. Every morning, he went to work, and the guys would tease him about it. We'd see him headed out all dressed up, and everyone would be laughing at him. Oh, gee, look at you in your fancy clothes. Oh, gee, going to see the white man today, huh? Oh, gee, don't forget to bring some books back from the library. One morning, after a month of G working at the place, we were hanging out on the wall, and G came out in his slippers and his socks. He wasn't dressed for work. Yo, G, what's going on? What's up with the job? Oh, I don't work there anymore. Why? They accused me of stealing something and I got fired. And I'll never forget thinking that it felt like he did it on purpose. He sabotaged himself so that he'd get accepted back into the group again. The hood was a gravitational pull. It never leaves you behind, but it also never lets you leave. Because making the choice to leave, you're insulting the place that raised you and made you and never turned you away. And that place fights you back. As soon as things start going well for you in the hood, it's time to go. Because the hood will drag you back in. You will find the way. There will be a guy who steals a thing and puts it in your car, and the cops find it. Something. You can't stay. You think you can. You'll start doing better, and you'll bring your hood friends out to a nice club. And next thing you know, somebody starts a fight, and one of your friends pulls a gun, and somebody's getting shot, and you're left standing around going, "What just happened?" The hood happened. Mm. I'm gonna I'm gonna call it for today. Okay? I will be back, not tomorrow, because it's Friday. It's casual Friday if you can't tell. I'm wearing my Mustang shirt. It's casual Friday and um no going live tomorrow because tomorrow is a weekend. We'll go live again on Monday. Okay? I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope it was fun. And if you're watching on the replay or if you're watching in the live, remember to give me a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe. Double check if you think you're subscribed. Maybe you're not. Okay? I love you, readers and scholars. Stay safe out there.